Welcome back to the All Things Sports Podcast, your number one sports podcast. I'm your co-host, Small Town EP. Since the last time you saw us, which was yesterday, tonight the Miami Heat stood on business. The Clippers figured it out against the struggling Spurs, and the Super Bowl rematch was everything that we wanted and possibly more. Super Bowl rematch was everything we wanted and possibly more. I had to reiterate that because I didn't say it right the first time, but I also had to reiterate that because I had to emphasize it. Thanksgiving week, I'm joined by the usual accomplice, June. Small town June is what we're going to do now. Mr. Heat M5 himself, wait, Julian. Called him everything but late for Friendsgiving this week, you heard?
Yes, sir. What's good, bro?
I'm all right, man. I can't complain. I can, but it is what it is.
I'm not gonna
We're
lie.
here.
I got my third Friendsgiving of the year tomorrow in here, so I'm gonna be back here tomorrow. We won't be recording anything live, but I will be eating good, and I might have myself a nice drink or two. I got work on Wednesday, so we got to keep it. You know what I'm saying? Keep it responsible.
1000%, 1000%, 1000%. Let's get right into it. We did speak before we get into this Monday night review. We did speak yesterday about Brandon Staley and how hot his coaching seat is. And after a couple of mediocre coaching performances to be exact this week, there's probably a couple coaches on the hot seat right now. Outside of Brandon Staley, June, what are some other coaches that you see should either be fired soon or by the end of the season?
EP, I know you said outside of Brandon Staley, but if I'm gonna have an opportunity to get my hate off, bro, I'm gonna get my hate off. We just gotta revisit for those who weren't listening Monday. You know what I'm saying? And if you were, I appreciate you, but I'm gonna revisit uh, the disastrous performance and that was with Chargers defense. And the guy who's calling plays over there, his name is Brandon Staley. He's the head coach of the Chargers. He, to me, has to go for this team to get where it needs to be and have their quarterback play to the Hall of Fame level, in Rex Ryan's words, because he said this is a Hall of Fame quarterback. And I think Justin Herbert can totally have a Hall of Fame career if coached properly and in the right system. Brandon Staley is doing such a disservice to that Chargers team. Another quote from Rex, because me and Rex Ryan, we're not friends. We don't know each other personally. I mean, I know Rex Ryan. He don't know me. But where we do understand each other is our hate for Coach Brandon Staley. And I'll quote Rex Ryan this morning on Get Up. He said he needs to go back to Division III football where he belongs. And every time every time Get Up is talking about the Chargers and that coach, Rex Ryan has choice words. And he doesn't stand back. He doesn't hold it. He lets it be known. He does not think this guy is good enough to coach in the NFL. Like he said, when Brandon Staley was coaching, when he took over that job for a team that my wife could have coached, hell,
Oh
my wife
God.
would have done a better job.
Oh God.
Like, that's not just, analysts. That's not, he's not just giving his thoughts. That's him ripping Brandon Staley and trying to like disrespect Brandon Staley. And if everybody knows Rex Ryan, he is a shit talker. He's a mouthy guy. Pause. He's gonna say what he wants and say what's on his chest. And that's one reason I love watching him on Get Up. But he tells nothing but the truth about Brandon Staley and how bad of a job he's done with this defense. It's the second highest paid defense and the second worst ranked defense in the league. I'm gonna leave it at that. My pick for this topic, since you said outside of Brandon Staley, I think it's got to be Frank Reich. And it's a bit unfair, the situation that he's kind of in right now, because he did have one of the worst teams in the league. They did trade a lot to go and get their quarterback, but the fact of the matter is that they're sitting at 1-8, and throughout this year, he's had to give up his play calling duties to another coach and then take them back. I don't know that I've seen that before, where a coach is like, you know what, man, listen, I don't got it. And then he's like, all right, I ain't gonna lie, fam. You ain't got that shit neither. Let me get that. Let me get that back. Let me get that back because I thought it was better over there. And yeah, I think Frank Reich is the main culprit. He's the one making the big decisions, and there's going to have to be some sort of person to blame or, where we're going to look towards when things are this bad. Do I think he gets fired this season? I can't promise he does because, again, like I said, the Panthers, they're not the most well put together team. They have talent, Brian Burns, Adam Thielen. They draft Bryce Young, sign a Miles Sanders. There's some talent over there. Derek Brown in the interior, but they're far from complete. They don't have enough weapons. And ever since Christian McCaffrey left, the Cam Newton Christian McCaffrey thing has just been downhill for this team. So um, they have the third worst offense in the league. And I think that if they don't maybe get out of that bottom five by the end of the year, we might see Frank Reich gone or get another win on the, like you don't want to see your team going 1-15, or 1-16. Like that's so, and understanding also that you don't have your first round pick. So it's not like you're playing tank. You know what I'm saying? That's not the goal here. The Panthers' goal was never to tank this year. This is a bad football team. And it looks like the Washington Wizards of the NFL, if you will. So I'll go with Frank Reich.
I love that we good, man, because I love that you just said the Washington Wizards because I'm gonna take it to Washington, but just not in that same sport. We're gonna keep it in football, and I'm gonna say the Commanders, Mr. Ron Rivera. I think the owner. Honestly, I think the only reason that he was not fired today is because they have to play on Thursday. So like, I can't fire you while we have a game in like 3 days. Honestly, if you're asking me, just nothing seems to click. You're making my man Bieniemy over there look really bad. And I don't want to say you, but Sam Howell yesterday, 3 picks as a team, 6 turnovers. You lose to the New York Giants to a tune of 31-19 at the crib. You've lost 4 games at home and have managed to just screw. Who was their sole win at home? The Commanders. I have to see this because week 1, the Cardinals. Ha ha ha. Yeah, cool. All right, yeah. And I believe, yeah, 20-16. You barely beat the Cardinals. And granted, it was week 1. We didn't really know what we were going to see from the Cardinals in the first, 4 or 5 weeks.
We didn't know it was going to be that bad.
You know what I mean? But it was, and kudos to you. You got that win off in week 1, where you should at the crib in the home and season opener. But again, Ron Rivera needs to get out of there. I don't want to say get rid of my man's Bieniemy as well, because it just the chemistry is just not there, man. It's not there. I don't know if it's a Ron Rivera thing. It's definitely have to do with Sam Howell. I'm sorry, you're not him. You're not that guy.
Yeah. Well,
And
listen, Sam Howell coming into week 11, leading the league in passing yards. I'm gonna just put that out there. He's not necessary, and I'm all for the Sam Howell hate. I love the kid. He's a good quarterback. I'll give him that. But he's a UNC guy. I've seen him too many times throw the U down. So it's fuck him, and I don't care. So I get what you're saying. Like, although he has that many passing yards, we see stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? We see stuff like this on Sunday that just is inexcusable. 6 turnovers is crazy. And I don't know if you were finished or not. I'll let you get back into your point, but this isn't the first season Ron Rivera. This is Frank Reich's first year in Carolina, which is why I gave him a little more slack. Ron Rivera has a 26-33-1 record with this Washington Commanders team. And there hasn't been, to me, from my recollection, like a positive vibe. Everything has kind of been super like down, a little negative. There was the Carson Wentz situation where he didn't know if he should start Howell or Wentz last year. And like, it was just too much going on. Then to start the season, Bieniemy's under heat because he's like a hard coach. And mind you, this is a guy who's won a Super Bowl and been with a, great franchise. Yeah, there's going to be some fucking change and things are going to feel different. And it'll be a little uncomfortable when we're trying to turn things into winning ways. So I do think ultimately, I'll let you finish, but Ron Rivera should be on the way out as well. I wholeheartedly agree.
Absolutely. And shout out to the boy Ray in the chat right now, mentioning that it's crazy because Redskins O line so trash. Don't know how he has that many passing yards either. He's making it happen, but they're just not winning. They're 4-7 on the season. They've lost, if I'm not mistaken, like 6 out of their last 8 games. Correction, 4 out of their last 5 games they've lost. it's just not looking good. It's not looking good. Ron Rivera should be out of there again. I think that they kept him because at least for this week because they have a game on Thursday and you can't have a
Yeah,
turnaround that quick with a new head coach. And frankly, I hate to bring race into it, but they're not going to put Bieniemy at the head of it because obvious reasons. His predecessors that were in Kansas City with him both have head coaching jobs at this point, and he does not. But I
yeah.
digress. Ron Rivera, the fuck out of Washington, buddy. Don't know what you're doing.
Send me on my way. Send me on my way.
Oh my God. Speaking of the enemy, his old team had a
Hmm.
hell of a match tonight. Monday night Super Bowl rematch. Philadelphia Eagles travel over to Arrowhead to play the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. And I mean, what a game it was. It's everything that we expected from a Super Bowl rematch. It's everything that we expected from the top two teams in the league and each
Yep.
conference, respectively, as well. It came down to some mistakes, as we figured, as we spoke about in the group chat earlier. Whoever made the mistakes that weren't supposed to be made would ultimately lose the game, and whoever took advantage of those mistakes would ultimately win the game. Drop passes and fumbles is really the story of this rematch, June. I'm a little heartbroken, man. I am. We looked great for 3 quarters, we being the Chiefs. And in those last, I want to say 17 minutes, because I will add a little bit of that third quarter into it, Philadelphia just showed a little more heart and a little more effort, and a little more is all they needed. Final score 21-17. What a rematch. What are some takeaways that you brought from this, June? I'll give you mine right after yours. Pause.
I just
That was crazy.
I want to congratulate Philadelphia. Honestly, I'm not even being funny. I mean, sitting at 9-1 at this point of the season, they did this last year and went to the Super Bowl.
Facts.
There's no
Facts.
sign of any type of Super Bowl, slump or whatever the case. Coming off that Super Bowl loss, like they don't necessarily look better. I think last year they were very firepowered and things were a little more exciting in Philadelphia last year as far as how it looked. But this team is grittier, right? This team, I think, has a better defense, and we clearly see that they are equipped enough to go and beat a team like Kansas City, and not only beat them, but hold them to 17-0 in the second half, right? Um, it, when I mentioned grit, Jalen Hurts was sacked 5 times. And those are all first half sacks. So, like the Chiefs, the problem with the Chiefs, I'll talk about them in a second, but they're like a half by half team. You don't know what you're going to get, like that Dolphins game and then this week. But with this Eagles team, the defense, they only got to Mahomes one time. They only got one sack on Mahomes, only got 2 tackles for loss against the Chiefs defense, who got 9 tackles for losses with 5 sacks. Um, they both had a pick, right? Snead and Byard. And Byard is going to be, to me, one of the X factors for Philadelphia in the playoffs because he's a vet, right? This guy knows where he's supposed to be at all time. And he's not only a vet, he's an all-pro caliber player. This is a big pick Howie Roseman got at the deadline, and he understood what this defense needed. And I think that was the final piece. I say final piece, but obviously they could have more help on defense. We're not going to be oblivious to that. But the simple fact that their front seven is, and specifically that defensive line is so strong, it's going to help out that back. And now you have a veteran leader like Kevin Byard, who had all that energy and talent being kind of wasted in Tennessee. And we're getting to see that, hey, Mahomes did throw a bad throw on that interception, I will say, to Justin
Super
Watson in the
bad.
end zone. Such a
Byard was
horrible throw.
beat.
But
Byard was
great
beat.
players make great plays, and he took advantage of that. We saw a couple interceptions dropped this weekend. You know how DBs do. So, I look at that, and to me, it's like going back to that Kansas City Chiefs team, man, on offense. It's too inconsistent for me to think that they are the favorite to win the Super Bowl in the AFC. Now, are they a top? Yeah. Are they one of the favorites for sure? But like, you're gonna tell me that this team can beat Baltimore in an AFC Championship game right now? pump your brakes, in my opinion. So, on the other hand, Philly showed that they are, in fact, the best team in the NFC, and don't look too fast, the best team in the NFL. Because who's going to beat Philadelphia at this point? And the Lions can do it. The Ravens possibly can do it, but we're going to have to see it because the Eagles are showing that 9-1 with Hurts, who is coming off of, he has that bum knee from week 7 that he's never sat out a game for, but it's been bothering him. I think resilience is the name of the game in this one. 150 passing yards and an interception from Hurts, but going out and getting 2 rushing touchdowns, putting some passes on the money to Devontae Smith. Shout out to Araf, my brother-in-law. He was like, yo, I think Devontae Smith's going to be the guy tonight because, A.J. Brown's going to get that double team, all that, excessive coverage, and it's going to leave Devontae Smith. So, yeah, 6 catches for
1,000%.
99 yards. I know the group chat was saying the over on A.J. Brown's receptions. Y'all got to take that loss. Y'all got to take that loss on the chest. 1 catch, 8 yards. This is by far the worst game of his season. And I know
1,000%.
that the Chiefs made it a point to say, listen, I don't care what y'all do out there. A.J. Brown does not impact this game today. Does not impact this game. And it was just a great game plan from Philadelphia to just be able to overcome all of that and all the mishaps and be able to come out with a victory.
No, facts. Drop passes, MVS. And this is someone that people love to hate and I love to praise. I'm not gonna lie because he's come in clutch when he's needed to come in clutch. But talk about breadbasket, bro. The dot was thrown, it was in your hands, and you fumbled. Literally, you fumbled. That can't happen. You at this professional level in the biggest game of the season. Because before the game started, I was talking to my girl and I was like, "Babe, this is the biggest game of the season for Kansas City. Like, we need this more than anything. A win here would be a statement." And honestly,
Right.
we love to talk about NFL scripts. I think the script is set perfectly at this point. Like I said, MVS dropping that pass killed me. The Mahomes interception, again, it was horrible throw. Great read by Byard, but it was a horrible throw. You gotta lead Watson into that corner, bro, because you throw it behind them on that post route, and it was a crossing post route. It's gonna get picked 8 out of 10 times. It really is. You can't underthrow a pick like that in between the hash marks, bro, because it's gonna result into something like that.
We heard that this game was going to be rainy and kind of sloppy. I mean, Patrick Mahomes throws for 177 yards. Jalen Hurts throws for 150. They both throw an interception. So we saw some of that. What I like as well is that Justin Watson is slowly becoming one of his favorite targets. And whether that's because you got guys like Kadarius Toney and guys like MVS who don't necessarily know how to hold on to the ball, you got to give credit to where it's due. And Justin Watson having a solid day, not for what it's worth, a solid day in the field. But MVS, 3 targets, no catches. Unacceptable. You got 3 targets, no catches, and then a target for Noah Gray, which probably was a bullshit throw. But yeah, man, I mean, again, you taking 26 yards loss on 5 sacks for Philly and still being able to figure out a way to come out victorious on the road in the wet weather, in the cold. It's like you said, man, it's a statement. This is a statement game for Philly. And they showed that, hey, the Super Bowl wasn't a fluke. The better team won that night in February, but we might be the better team right now, and that's what matters. So,
big shout out to my defense, man. A lot of criticism. They were faced with a lot of criticism last year, and even in the Super Bowl, about discipline, making the right read. Shout out to this young group of guys, man. Chris Jones today, thank God he re-signed. Thank God he re-signed. 2 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss. Trent McDuffie, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. I'm not gonna let you live this down. My boy George Karlaftis, a sack, 2 solo tackles, a part of 3 tackles by himself. I mean, the defense is just executing. They're getting to
Yeah.
do they're doing what they need to do. But again, it's this season, it's interestingly enough, it's like the tables have turned, how the turntables and the
Out of
defense is
turntables.
and the defense is getting it done and the Chiefs are just
Yeah.
going through these spurts where like we're not scoring and for 30 minutes at a time and
Yeah.
that's absolutely unacceptable.
So
I don't there's no excuse. There's no you don't have a number one receiver, none of that. There's no
yeah.
excuse for any of that. We have a group of guys that can get the job done, and tonight didn't get the job done.
Yeah, I just two more things before we move on. Philadelphia, if you told me Philadelphia was going to have 21 points on Jalen Hurts, 29 yards rushing and 150 yards throwing, no touchdowns, I would have took the Chiefs every single time. You know what I'm saying? Now, what is it with your offense that is kind of withholding you from scoring, in these halves? Like, again, I mentioned that Dolphins game because the Dolphins have a solid defense. And guess what? When you get to the playoffs, all you're going to play is good defenses. The teams that earn their right to be there are going to be there. And so earlier in the season, we spoke, and I think Kev was on with us. We were just talking about the Super Bowl favorite, and you're kind of saying, like, it's got to be KC in the AFC because, it's us till it ain't. And I respect that. And you guys are sitting at 7-3. You guys could have went 8-2 tonight, very much so. But the reality is you're 7-3, and that's still a great spot to be in at this point of the season. It's nothing you take away from KC, but it's concerning when you see the way games are going because the Dolphins game could have been a loss. It could, and it's not. I'm not going there as far as, oh, what if it was? It's not about what if it was. It's that it really could have been had Tua maybe not missed Jeff Wilson or I forget who that was over the top when they had that wide open touchdown he missed, and then fumbled on the last play of the game. But you go and not score again in the second half against a good team, and look what happens. You know what I'm saying? Granted, MVS had the opportunity. You guys put yourself in position to take the lead late, but you didn't execute, and that's ultimately what matters. So, what has to change for this Chiefs offense to be able to sustain themselves through 4 quarters of games and make another Super Bowl run? That's my question to you.
I mean,
You don't got the answer. That's fine. I didn't think
yeah,
you.
honestly, I don't have the answer because it's baffled me these stretches of scoreless quarters that we're going through when we have a guy by the name of Travis Kelsey, you know, we have Miko Hardman back from New York, you know, we have Kadarius Tony. Honestly, we have MVS as well because we're honestly so disappointed in him because we know what he's capable of. So we have a group of guys that can get the job done. I don't care about number one receiver. We'll address that in the offseason. We don't have time to address that at this point. We missed that window a couple weeks ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So at this point, you work with what you got and you fucking try to make it work.
This is you right now, E. This is you right now.
Why don't you empower yourself and don't need them and do it yourself? How, Sway? Take a few steps back. You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
No cap. No cap, bro.
Yeah.
No cap, bro.
He said, I've been doing this more than you. That was one of the most disrespectful moments in interview history. Don't ever disrespect Sway Calloway like that.
A big shout out to Jalen Hurts, man. The guy is, as you were saying, resilient. He got that dog in him. He does what it takes to get the job done at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Bum knee, bum ankle, 5 sacks, interception, doesn't matter. He's poised. He stays in the game. Even when he looks rattled, I think it's just a poker face. He's not really rattled.
Definitely.
These are just some
Definitely.
shades, bro. And we go get that right back. We gonna get that right back, man. So definitely big shots to the Philadelphia Eagles. Biggest game of the season, I think, for both teams. Honestly, they both had this game circled. I can guarantee you that. I don't know. Hey, this is the first game. first game without the Swifty in the stands. Who knows? Maybe she's a good luck charm. I don't know. You know.
Hey, man.
Hey man, listen. We'll stay with football for right now. This draft order is getting very interesting, and as each game passes, we're seeing obviously the updates. It's changing. It's moving here. It's moving there. Carolina still has the worst record in the league, which means they have the first overall pick, but they owe that shit to Chicago, which is very funny. So Chicago could, as of right now, not could, but as of right now, if the draft was happening tonight or tomorrow, Chicago would have the first overall pick and the fourth overall pick. With Arizona at 2, New England at 3, which is I don't remember the last time that we saw New England so high in the draft order. The Giants at 5, Tennessee at 6, Washington at 7. Who do you think will be able to address their biggest needs? I would say at least in those top fives. Seeing that Chicago, I say top 6, and Chicago has 2 picks. I can't even put top
It's
5
tough,
because it's
bro.
really just 4.
It's tough because I mean it's not tough. It's the thing is, whoever gets Caleb Williams, you got to imagine is like we at least got half of the shit we got to figured out. And Caleb Williams might come in the league and struggle like Bryce Young did. I think everybody thought Bryce Young was going to come in here and maybe even do what CJ Stroud is doing. And that's certainly not the case. I don't think Bryce Young and Caleb Williams are the same. You know, first of all, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young always had the issue with the size. Pause. Like, you know, being under 6 feet tall as an NFL quarterback or 6 feet as a quarterback, you got to be really, really, really good. You got to be really smart and really accurate. And Bryce Young is all 3 of those. It's going to take him some time. You know, Drew Brees wasn't the best quarterback in his rookie season. Fortunately for Drew Brees, he played under Norv Turner. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that offense over there, Schottenheimer. It's just so Frank Reich isn't the guy for Bryce Young. Is maybe what I'm getting at. That's not your question. Caleb Williams can come into the league and have an impact, CJ Stroud like impact next year. So whether that be the Bears and they move on from Justin Fields, and if that's a 2-for-1 where the team that Justin Fields gets traded to kind of they answer some of their problems, because I don't think Justin Fields is a bust. You know, I'm not going to go there. I think that he's not maybe as good as some people thought he would or the Bears thought he would be as a true passing quarterback. But the jury's still out, you know, on Justin Fields. But Caleb Williams, to me, whoever gets to land Caleb Williams, I think solves a lot of that team's issues.
1,000%. I think Caleb, obviously he's not in the league yet, so the verdict is still out on him as well. Him being Caleb Williams. I'm excited to see him in the NFL at a different caliber. We've seen players come in balling out of college most recently and struggle in the league.
Yeah.
I don't know how well his game will transition into the NFL. I would be a little higher on UCLA's QB personally in the league. Or I'm sorry, Washington's quarterback, Penix in the league more. I don't know. I just like left-handed quarterbacks, even though it's a curse. Personally, I don't know how well Caleb Williams' game is going to transition. I don't know how well any of these guys' games is going to transition. That's why
spicy, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not here to defend you right now. Is all I'm gonna say. State your case.
Never needed nothing.
Oh shit!
Never needed nothing.
We're gonna come back. So look, it's November 20th, Thanksgiving week, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to this probably around this time next year. Maybe week 8, maybe week 7, maybe week 9. But around this time next year, we will revisit the Caleb Williams hate in which you dismantled, if that even makes sense. And we're gonna talk about it.
Oh man, listen, don't look now, but the Denver Broncos have won 4 straight, including to the Chiefs and to the Bills, along with the Packers and the Vikings, of course. But they won four straight, second in the AFC West, about 2 games behind Kansas City. What do we do with Denver, man? What does Denver do? Is it, are we crediting this this win streak, their success recently, more to Sean Payton, or are we crediting it more to Russell Wilson's game management, June?
So real quick, I said dismantled. I don't know where my mind was. I meant to say displayed. It happens. All right. I've been talking all day, but I don't want to be unfair to anybody in the Broncos organization, because you could also say maybe it's fucking Cortland Sutton for catching everything that's being thrown his way, right? And winning games for this team. But I think that they're putting together a good game plan week in and week out, and they're not playing up, they're not playing down to their opponents. They're playing from like a humble position, and they understand that they got to win games. The job is getting done. That's all that matters. So no disrespect to you, but I don't care who it is, whether it's Sean Payton, whether it's the front office, now serves breakfast until 12. I don't know what happened in Denver, but the transition of the Nathaniel Hackett era to the Sean Payton era, in which he's kind of publicly embarrassed the team at certain points, to the Russell Wilson saga of he's washed, Pete Carroll is the reason he ever was good in his career. Just calm down. Everybody calm down. And I'm part of that, everybody. So I'm talking to me in third person as well. But calm down. I told you last week, it's a long season, bro. We got a lot of football left this year. And we don't know how the Dolphins are going to finish. We don't know how the Colts are going to finish. We don't know how the Bills are going to finish. We know how the Jets are going to finish, because they're going to keep losing with that fucking offense. But we don't know how a lot of these AFC teams are going to finish. And the Denver Broncos, you just told me yesterday that who's last in the AFC West? The Chargers, right? Not the Broncos. You would think, based on the way shit's going this season, that the Broncos probably were the worst team in that division. It's not the case, which is another reason why Brandon Staley should be getting fired. But this Denver Broncos team is just piling wins. They're playing quality football, both sides of the ball, getting stops when they need to, getting turnovers when they got to, and they're scoring. So credit everybody a part of that organization for putting their head down, remaining humble, playing with pride, and not giving up like last year. Last year they gave up. Maybe by this point of the season, it was over. You know what I'm saying? It was an embarrassment. They were all over the news every week, because last year they were in the media because we thought that Denver Broncos team had a lot of talent, and they got Russell Wilson, new coach. It was dope, And so of course, then we realized, all right, this team fucking sucks. There's no need for us to talk about them as much. And look what they've been doing for the last month and a half. 4-2 in the last 6 games. You got to give credit. They're not fluking right now. They did beat a Minnesota team who has Josh Dobbs as their quarterback, if you want to say, who didn't have Justin Jefferson playing. But Justin Jefferson, when he's out, the team wins. This is the first game they lose while he's out. They were on a 5-game win streak between Kirk Cousins and Josh Dobbs. So, there is no way to discredit this Broncos team. And shout out to Russ, shout out to Coach Sean Payton, shout out to Cortland Sutton making great plays for that team. You know what I'm saying? Jerry Jeudy, Broward boy over there. Justice Sim is making big plays on third down. It's been a whole team effort, and I think that locker room kind of honed in on, listen, man, we just got to play football. We got to do what we're good at. And I'm excited to see what this Broncos team can do for the rest of the season. I'm going to pull up the rest of their schedule right now. They play, listen to this.
Oh, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, they got the Browns. They got the Broncos. They got the Chargers. I'm sorry. They got the Browns. They got the Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. So it's by no means an easy schedule. But we can also say they've got DTR. They're going to play DTR. They're going to play Brandon Staley's defense twice. They're going to play the Raiders. They're going to play the Patriots. You could say Mac Jones. You could say Bill Belichick's team, whatever the case. That's 5 very, very winnable games, close to should win those games. That's 5 out of the last 7. Excuse me. I'll go 4 because the Browns game next week, it's going to be tough. I think they have an opportunity to outscore that team because that's really all you got to do. Just put up 20 points and you probably beat the Browns. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, against Miles
But
Garrett
putting
and the
up 20
Browns
points on that
defense,
Browns
that's
defense
easy.
is the issue. Now, 4 out of the last 7 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that are winnable. And then you add to the point that I can see them beating the Texans. What Lions team is going to come out, on December 17th? And so they're in a good position right now. If I'm a Broncos fan, I'm a little hopeful. Not necessarily about us making the playoffs per se, winning the division, definitely not, but about us finishing this season strong and putting ourselves in position to, guess what? Maybe we can make the playoffs. So shout out to the Broncos, man. They got some things going their way right now. And if you're gonna beat the Browns, now's the time. I mean, fucking 13 points, 14 points would have beat them last week.
I don't share the same sentiments. I'm gonna be
Okay.
honest.
Well,
I
you're also a Chiefs fan. Let's keep that in mind.
Oh no, I mean that's fine. Like I told you, I don't hate the Broncos anymore, or the Raiders for that matter. I could care. I'm worried more about NFC teams at this point in my Chiefs fandom. Who gives a fuck about the AFC? Anyways, I don't share the same sentiment. I don't think that divisional games are just winnable. I And I also think that Bill Belichick finds ways to win games, and I think
Yeah.
that Broncos game would be one of those games that he already has circled. Like, hey, I got something for that team because that's Bill Belichick. I'm gonna tell you what Lions team is gonna show up in Detroit on December 17th. It's the Lions team that's 8-2 and 4-1 at home. That's the Lions team that's gonna show up, led by Aiden Hutchinson and Jared Goff. That's the Lions team that's gonna show up. They're not gonna win that game. Browns game would be a
I felt
toss-up.
funny when I was talking about the Lions. I had to do it, I had to do it, but I felt funny saying it.
That's the Lions team that's going to show up. I could definitely see Russell Wilson dropping one in Houston. I mean, they're 2-2 on the road right now, and when you got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of your last, what is it, 6 games on the road, and you're scratching 500 on a scratch off ticket right now. I get it. You're playing the Chargers twice. You got to pay the Patriots, who, I guess it's if you're gonna, like you said, if you're gonna beat the Browns, this is the time to beat them. If you're gonna beat the Patriots, it's probably the season to beat them as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we've seen what has been going on in Denver for the last couple of years. Shout out to Sean Payton, shout out to Russell Wilson. Like, I'm not saying get rid of Russell Wilson. I'm not going to say Russell Wilson is washed by any means because obviously they're on a 4-game win streak and they're doing what they got to do, winning the last, what is it, 5 out of 8 games, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to go as far as to say Russell Wilson's washed, get him the fuck out of the NFL. Absolutely not. This is someone that's proven and will continue to work hard and do what needs to be done to hopefully put his team in a winning position. But at the end of the day, this is the Denver organization, and as much as of an easy schedule as it looks like, again, I'm not going to count the Patriots out. I'm not going to count the Lions out. I would definitely count the Chargers out, but I do have the Chargers winning one of those games. Which one? Can't tell you. Don't care either, to be honest. That's how I feel about Denver at this point.
That's fair.
Let's take it over to the NBA and talk about this in-season tournament because I believe that the group stages are done, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Or do we still have another week of that?
Listen, it's the first year of this in-season tournament thing, so I'm still
Yeah, we're
trying to figure.
still.
Steph Curry. We're not all Steph Curry. He's like, it's simple. All you got to do is this, that, and the third, this, that, and the fourth, this, that, and the fifth, and that's it. Listen, bro, trying to figure this shit out. Now, tomorrow, in-season group play returns.
Okay.
So we got the Bucks, Celtics, Kings, Lakers. I think the Heat are also undefeated in that group play, because the Heat lost to the Bull, which super embarrassing that Heat losing to the Bulls there. But no, the Heat are also 2-0 in group play. So yeah, shout
Hmm.
out to those undefeated teams: Timberwolves, Kings, Heat, Lakers, Celtics,
Bucks.
Bucks, Pacers.
500K on the line. I mean, do you have a favorite? Do you have, I mean, outside of the Heat, who are also undefeated?
I mean, to be honest, like I could see, so I could see LeBron winning this thing, right? Like the competitiveness that he plays with, the when the stakes are highest, who's at their best. That's LeBron. You know what I'm saying? And they're undefeated through 2 games or 3 games, excuse me, in group play. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that that's oh my god. I just know that as a Heat fan, I've seen us win with LeBron and I've seen us lose against LeBron in championships, right? So what you can't say is that LeBron don't show up. You can only say that about the 2011 finals, uh, and no more. So yeah, I mean, shout out to the Lakers. I think the Lakers have a good chance of winning this in-season tournament. Do I root for them and do I care if they win it? No. Um, but I also think to that same point, whether you think I'm being biased or not, that the Miami Heat have a good chance to win this because one, their group is favorable, and two, it's that extra competitiveness. You want dogs. Like for something like this, you need dogs. And if it ain't Braun, then who other than Jimmy Butler and the goons in Miami? Where did Kendrick Perkins? Shout out to Kendrick Perkins, right? So, um, call me biased or not, I think the Heat have a good chance. Um, and then I'll just give a third team. I know you didn't ask me all this. But the Timberwolves, you mentioned to me earlier, they're undefeated at home right now. That Timberwolves team looks real good. They beat the Knicks by 17 tonight. Anthony Edwards had a solid game, 23 and 10. And so I think they'd be another good candidate to possibly win it all. What do you think, bro?
I think it's tough. I think the fact that they are taking into consideration point differential, so you get kudos for blowing teams out
Yeah.
of the water, and winning by 15, 16, 20 points is actually favorable. Like it gives you more of an advantage moving forward. Is actually one of the cooler things. You know me, I'm a big soccer fan, and there's a bunch
Yeah.
of different cups and different tournaments within the club season, and that's what this kind of feels like, which is pretty neat. Obviously, there's an extra incentive, 500,000. I'm sure that if LeBron wins, I could see LeBron winning and then donating that his 500,000 to charity or some shit like that, because that's the type of thing that LeBron would do.
Right.
Probably give it back to his school. Would
To the
probably
school. I was gonna say the
probably
I
yeah,
promise you.
what he would
Thanks.
probably do. I do like his. I think I'm with you. I like the Lakers specifically in this in-season tournament. Just the way that they've been playing and the way that they're just clicking on honestly all cylinders. They're winning. It doesn't always look pretty, but as we've said on the All Things Sports podcast once before, a win is a win, a dub is a dub, and we'll keep it moving. I could see the
Yeah.
Lakers winning. I could, I mean, who knows? I could see a Lakers Heat matchup sometime in, this tournament, which would be pretty cool. Do we know if the quarterfinals and stuff, everything is one and done after the group stage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Word, 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 word. It's going to be interesting to see how they schedule it after the group stage. I mean, obviously we know when the games are going to be and things like that, but how like they schedule around it is going to be
Right. Right.
very interesting
So
for me to see.
let me see 1 second. You got group play. That's going to end on November 28th. So we got 7 more days, it's now 12:04. Thank you, EP, for being here with me on this all things sports journey. Working late after midnight. Um, on Tuesday, November 28th, that'll be the last game, the last days for group play. Um, Knockout round, it'll be 8 teams that advance from group play to the knockout round. And the team with the best standing in group play games in each of the 6 groups and 2 wild cards. So that's what it'll be. The knockout rounds will be single elimination in the quarterfinals, played in NBA team markets on Monday, December 4th and Tuesday, December 5th. After that, it'll be the semifinals and the championship. And I believe that that will be taking place in Vegas. Right. So
Word. Yep. Yep. Yep.
we're gonna learn. We'll learn about this more as the season goes on, and it's gonna be fun looking back in about 4 to 5 years to see where they've taken this in-season tournament and how it goes for the league. If it's been a positive thing, if it's been something that fans don't necessarily care for. Uh, but I could only see this being a better thing, there because talking to you, you like soccer, right? Not to say I don't, but you're a big soccer fan, and NBA is a very global brand. So for them to have the reach in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, the way they do, I think bringing a soccer like vibe to it in the regular season can only like attract more fans that maybe weren't as big of fans, or like it's just
Mhm.
more competition. So if you say no to more competition, that's weird.
Word up. Word up. Word up. And you know what? Let's keep it in LA. LeBron, 37 points in the win over Houston last night. Yeah, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
last night. Ooh, well, now, like you said, 12:06 a.m. on Tuesday, November 24th, 21st. We're speaking Sunday night in LA against the Rockets. The season series is tied 1-1. They will see each other two more times, once in LA on December the 2nd, once in Houston on January 29th. But LeBron, again, 37 points in a win. It's Braun. The Rockets are 0-4 on the road. So for them to only lose by 1 point is also something that we probably, at least I want to highlight,
Yeah.
with this against this LeBron-led team. I also want to highlight Austin Reeves coming off of the bench, 17 points. Ooh, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, couple of turnovers, 2 turnovers, but 5 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from the 3 point line, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. I love the way that honestly LeBron just plays with this kid. Pause. He just looks honestly like a proud like big bro, and I'm sure that he has conversations with Austin where it's like, bro, like you could really be one of those players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it shows, honestly. It shows a kid that used to fucking deliver for DoorDash now playing
With
not
LeBron
playing with
James, right?
Yo, right? Like that's crazy. And then
It's funny.
not only playing but contributing in a
Oh yeah.
very high performance
Oh yeah.
way. You know what I mean?
I
And now
mean,
you're getting faced.
he earned a contract on a LeBron James team, so
Absolutely.
he got the stamp of approval, and that's got to feel good if you're like you really got to feel good about yourself if you're Austin Reeves and you go into a summer where people are like, "Yo, we want you on our team." You know what I'm saying? You did that last year. Show us you could do it again. We'll give you this contract. And it's funny you mentioned that as far as like Braun being the big bro to Reeves, because last night or 2 nights ago now, when I saw them play the Rockets and I saw him do LeBron did the little, what I'm saying, the little smoke. He passed the blunt to Christian Wood. In my head, I don't know why I thought about it, but in my head, I'm like, yo, I don't think he would do that celebration with Austin Reeves. Like, I feel like he looks at Austin Reeves like, what I'm saying? You my young, like, nah, we gonna you the youngin', like we gonna, what I'm saying, treat you the right way. So shout out to the Lakers, man. I think that they're figuring things out as they go. They're getting healthier. Jared Vanderbilt, you know what I'm saying, is still hasn't been an impact in the lineup yet. So it's just good to see them not struggling as much. They're at 8-6, and it is alarming that they only have a 1 point win against that Rockets team. But to that point, the Rockets are playing the Warriors right now in the fourth quarter, 4 minutes left, and they're only down 9. So, the Rockets are playing competitive basketball. It's not the same Rockets team as last year. They added Dylan Brooks, they drafted Thompson, and they also signed Fred Van Vliet. So they've added some players with Alperen Sengun tonight. I mean, he's got 22 and 13 right now. Uh, so they've got some players over there. LeBron, by the way, also did score the game-winning free throw
Free
in that
throw.
game last night. So shout out to him. Jokic, by the way, tonight got ejected. And I think this referee epidemic needs to be.
The saga continues.
It's sad, man. Like between the MLB, the NFL doesn't have this issue as much. I think the NFL's issue is that the sport as a whole is trying to be less violent. And so the refs are at that point kind of just doing their job. Like, look, the league says we got to call this. The league said that is a, unsportsmanlike conduct play. You can't do that. Defenseless receiver, all that stuff. That's kind of more on the league. And the refs is like, good cop, bad cop. They got to take the hit for that. Fair enough. But in basketball, where it's like full discretion as a referee to call a pity pat foul or not, in baseball where it's balls and strikes and the referees aren't, or the umps aren't seeing it correctly, it's just doing something negative to the sport. And they people are like in the comments saying the league needs to make the referees do interviews, do press conferences, right? And I mean, yeah, cool. We're gonna see the referee after the game say, "Yeah, I fucked up. My mistake." Nobody don't want to hear that shit. Nobody want
Slap
to
the
hear
shit
that
out
shit.
you, bro.
And guess what? I got news for you, bro. The NBA and the MLB, they know. And NFL, they know. They know the refs fuck up. And they
They
know
got
that
eyes,
sometimes
bro.
sometimes
Yeah.
they fucking up because maybe they should be fucking up. And I'll leave that there. I'm a big sports fan and I'm a big person of integrity and shit like that. So I try not to ruin it for myself. I don't like to get into the this is rigged conversation. But let's be honest, you know what I'm saying? We saw Tim Donaghy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't act like that's never happened again. So there is that business within the business. Just act like you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, just act like you know. Come on, fam. You
Straight up.
act like you know.
Straight up. Straight up. Ugh. It's interesting because then the Nuggets looked really bad without Jokic for the rest of the night, and things weren't the same after they got him up out of there. Couple of things as far as college basketball is concerned. I was watching this Purdue Gonzaga game earlier today. Two top schools right now, and Purdue did come out on top. They are a part of a ticket that I have right now. I'm live game casting the UCLA Marquette game. I do need Marquette to win this game to cash the ticket, so definitely going to finish that once we get done here. But uh, there's still that weakness that Purdue has with Zach Edey. Like, they're lucky that Gonzaga wasn't hitting shots this afternoon, because if
Yeah.
Gonzaga was knocking shots down, it would have been a totally different story, because
Yeah.
Zach Edey can't guard past like 10 feet from the rim, bro, because he's getting crossed up. And then on top of that, pick and roll, they got to figure out with these Purdue players, you got to fight through these picks, because if you switch with Zach Edey, he's getting crossed up 10 times out of 10 times. Like, it's going to happen. Granted, offensive boards, defensive boards, he's there. But you're praying. If you're playing a low level school, then yeah, you know what I mean. All right, you can live and die with those shots. When you're playing a team like Gonzaga, when you're playing a team like Michigan State, when you're playing a team like Kansas, when you're playing these top schools that you'll see in the tournament, Lord willing, you make it to the tournament and your conference play goes as it should. It's going to be a long night if these teams are hitting shots and you can't fight through picks, and you got Zach Edey getting, Deron Williams every
Hmm.
night with the two step,
Yeah.
boop boop, out of here, boop boop, out of here. So they were they were, and I was very fortunate that Gonzaga wasn't hitting shots, because I'm watching this game and I'm like, step out, Zach Edey, and then he steps
Right.
out and I'm like, oh. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe you just don't. Maybe
Yeah.
you do
And
what
I
you're good
mean,
at,
hey, like you said, they got out of there versus Gonzaga today. You got to give them credit though. This is a team that beat Penn State. This is a team that beat Ohio State twice. Beat Rutgers. Um, and with losses to Northwestern, Indiana, and Maryland, it looks a little, it looks a little shaky.
Mhm.
Two losses to Indiana at that. Um, but what's great about college basketball is that, listen, there's a long way to go, right? And
Mhm.
March Madness is what, you know what I'm saying? March Madness is really what we're striving for. Of course they want to win a Big 10 championship. Of course they do. And they're still fine. Like it's okay. You know what I'm saying? They're sitting at, what are they sitting at right now? Hold on. They're sitting at the Big
Purdue,
10. They're sitting at
they should be
4-0 in the
undefeated. Yeah,
conference
undefeated.
on a 4-game win streak. You know, second in Nebraska. And I was just talking about Nebraska to you before, how they came out with that win tonight. Purdue's okay, and they'll be fine. But I get what you're saying. You know, they have a higher standard, and they need to start playing up to that. So I think with a couple more weeks and some more time, they'll be all right.
There will be. There will be. There will be. Listen, this was the All Things Sports podcast on this beautiful Monday night. We had a very, very, very outstanding Super Bowl rematch that we went over. The Heat stood on business tonight, went over that NBA in-season tournament. And like I said in the intro, I'm gonna reiterate this: the Clippers figured it out against a very struggling Spurs team. So I don't really want. We're not gonna talk about them today, even though I had to bring that back up. Catch us here this week. Production's still debating whether we're gonna have a Thanksgiving episode. We'll get back to you guys on that.
Thank y'all.
You
Have
know
a
what
great
I'm saying?
Thanksgiving if we don't see y'all till next week, man. Thanks for rocking with us. We're thankful for you.
Absolutely. If you were in the live chat, we appreciate you. Shout out to that boy Ray. If you're listening to us on all streaming platforms, whether it's Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, SoundCloud, don't matter. We appreciate all the love that you show us. As always, I'm your co-host, Small Town EP, joined by your host, Mr. Heaton 5 himself. See you soon, Julian. We'll see you guys on the next one.